It is very difficult to focus nowadays. It's very difficult to put your mind to something and actually carry out on it. And in fact, if we could just focus for 10, 15 minutes a day and really work at something and really chip away at something, then we could all be so much closer to where we want to be. And that's why I have these books for you today. I think these books have helped me kind of understand things about myself, understand things about how to reframe my mind, how to refocus, how to re-engage into something worthwhile. And yeah, here is the list of books. The reason I am making this video is because I talked about Walden, and I think it's a very similar idea to that. And again, I'm going to talk about Walden, but I'm going to keep it to the end. So if you already saw that video a few days ago, it's not going to be repeating. But yeah, the first thing we have is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Simply put, this is a book that you read and it will stick with you for the end of time because essentially it's Viktor Frankl living in the 1940s German work camps. I'll say that. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I don't feel like dancing around it anymore, but really what Viktor Frankl understood from this experience and what he grasped from this experience is that there is a meaning to life, that if you can grasp onto some purpose, that you can grasp onto some sort of meaning, some sort of hope, then you can make it through any circumstances. The really crazy aspect about this book is that you're reading about some of the worst things that have ever happened to human beings, and you're seeing a man that can find hope, that can cling on to some little values, like watching the sunset from a prison work camp. Being able to sleep in 15 minutes extra on a day when you thought you were gonna have to get up a little bit earlier, being allowed to warm your hands by a fire before you have to go back to grueling physical labor that is meant to break you and is meant to be the end of you. Like little things like that. But really what you get from this book is that if you can find purpose, if you can find meaning, if you can find something beyond what you're pushing for, then you can endure anything. And really what this book will make you focus on is the things that really matter to you in life, the things that are really important to you in life. Like, we like to disassociate the actual important ends from what we are doing. Think about why you go to school, why you get a job, why you get a career. Like, all of these things are done in the pursuit of bettering yourself, but bettering yourself for the sake of what? Because in the end, if you were given that money, in the end, if you were given that status and all of that success and everything that you were looking for, it would feel hollow because you didn't do it for anyone else. You didn't do it for anything aside for the sake of doing it. You did it for the status, and you didn't do it for what you could provide to other people, what you could provide to your family, how you could inspire others, how you could build up the world in your image and inspire people through your action and things of that matter. But yeah, with that said, we will get into the next book, which is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This is one of the better books when it comes to new age, spiritual, sort of self-helpy kind of books. And I was really reluctant to read this when I first picked it up because I was like, yeah, I know what he's going to say. But in fact, this book was far better than what I thought it would be. And it was such a pleasant surprise. And really what the idea of The Power of Now is that when you live in the present, then you live in the only thing that you can affect. But if you live in the past, you are just trying to bring the past to the future, whether it's for good, whether it's for bad. If you're trying to bring a good experience into the present, well, you're trying to hold on to a fleeting experience, and you will forever compare your current existence to the past where things were better, and you'll never be able to recapture that moment. You'll never be able to pull that moment into the future. It's the same thing if you're lingering on to doubts and fear and past mistakes and all sorts of these things, that you're bringing this moment into the present, and you're preventing yourself from being a different person in the future. You're preventing yourself from taking different actions in the now in order to improve your situation. It's also the same thing with the future where, think about, oh, I have this goal and in a year I'll be here, in 5 years I'll be here, in all this time and all the work that I put in, I'm going to get this end result. But the truth is, when you have a goal, when you have an end result, when you have a thing that you need, it's telling yourself right now that I'm not happy. It's telling yourself that I'm not satisfied with where I am right now. And you forget the entire part of a story is the journey. It's not about the end. We all know that most stories are going to end up one of two ways: the hero succeeds or the hero fails. And it's the things in the middle that make it interesting. It's the things in the middle that make the story compelling and make us keep turning the page. And you need to understand that it's the same thing with life. If you succeeded right away, if you didn't experience pitfalls, then there would be no purpose to go on. So as you're going through the motions, as you're doing the things that you enjoy doing, and you're having fun along the way, just understand that this is the best part of it. It's the end when we kind of look at it and we're like, well, I did all of this for nothing. It doesn't mean as much as I thought it would. I got to the mountaintop, but now there's something more. And that's really what we need to start refocusing our life onto. But, Eckhart Tolle is a really good way of putting these ideas in a very simple way. Talks about meditation, talks about mindfulness and all other these things. But I think I got the main gist of it and the main important part of it. I really urge you to pick up this book for yourself. Next thing we have is Emerson's essays. And I think Emerson's essays are some of the best things that have ever been written, particularly Self-Reliance or Nature or The Oversoul or Compensation. Those are some of my favorite, but really what Emerson is trying to urge you to do is to find yourself, find your own nature, find your own way of life, because nobody else can live it. Nobody else has your combination of genetics with experience that gives you a unique way of viewing the world, gives you a unique way of seeing things in the world and pursuing things in the world. And he has a quote that perhaps sums this up perfectly, that to be yourself in a world that seeks conformity is the greatest of achievements. Really just saying that nothing else you do will ever measure up to what you could be if you were just yourself. Because you could go out into the world, get all sorts of success, get all sorts of things that would make you feel good and give you all these hollow and empty achievements. But in the end, the only thing that you can do that no one else can do is be you. And I think that's one of the greatest lessons, and I think this will really help you be present, because most of our lives we spend directing our goals, directing our actions to pleasing other people. But when we have this reaffirmation by such a great writer such as Emerson, that in truth anything that you do that is not authentic, that is not yourself, is a waste of time, and I think it really allows you the courage and the fortitude to go about your way of life in your own way. And it really breaks up that monotony. It breaks up the necessity to be part of the crowd. It breaks up the need to follow everyone else and do what everyone else is doing when you know in your heart that you're looking for something else. So I think this is one of the greatest works in terms of allowing yourself to be yourself, allowing yourself to align yourself with the things that you really enjoy and the things that you really like, and not get mixed up with the crowd, not get mixed up with what people are saying are important, what people are saying that you need to believe, the things that you need to do, and the actions that you need to take in order to make some collective archetype happy. It's a very weird kind of concept when you break it down in this way, but last thing we have is Walden. And I think Walden does everything Emerson does, but it perhaps does it better because it does it through experience. And, Henry David Thoreau was very much inspired by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So there's a lot of carryover throughout the ideas. But what Walden does differently from Emerson is that it's about the experience. It's about actually doing the things that Emerson says to do. And I think there's so much more power in seeing someone's example and seeing how somebody goes about changing their life rather than telling somebody to change their life. Like, no matter what I do, no matter how good the things I say are, it will never mean as much unless I actually show some sort of change, unless I actually show some sort of change in outlook, or I show some better results, because, you can't force somebody to help themselves. They have to do it out of their own volition, and that rarely happens from telling somebody what to do. It usually just happens through inspiration. Think about the people that aspire to be like Michael Jordan. Think about the people that read Shakespeare and are inspired to write. Like, it's never through actual teaching. It's never through actual you must do this that any growth happens. It's through visualizing the experience. It's through seeing that and seeing that there's a better path, a better way. And what Walden seeks to do is that a man goes out into the woods and lives a life of simplicity. And through this simplicity, he relearns the simplicity of life and the beauty of life through gratitude. Because it's very difficult when you have a whole lot of things, a whole lot of material things, to appreciate the things you have. Because you have 30 cars, you have a giant mansion, you have this, you have that, and all of these things, and I want this, and I want this. When you have a lot of money, it's easy to get more things, but when you have the bare minimum, then you really have to appreciate those things. You have to appreciate those things for allowing you to live, for allowing you to get to and from work, for allowing you to have a roof over your head. It's the appreciation of the things we have and the simplicity of our lives and the lack of attachment to other things that allow us to just exist. Because when you're a consumerist person, when you're a materialistic person, you're always chasing that next hit of excitement, that next hit of, I got this thing and I can show it to this person. I can show this person how wealthy I am and how successful I am and how rich I am. And it's a very narcissistic cycle of showing off to the world how great you are. And in the end, all it is seeking is you look in the mirror and hopefully you buy enough things, hopefully you're successful enough, hopefully in this worldly world we are distinguished enough that when we look in the mirror we'll finally say, I like myself. But what Walden does is it gets to the root of this issue and it tells you that you don't need anything to be happy. You just need yourself. You need yourself and the simplicity of life to get over all of these needless pursuits and all of these things that take you away from what's really important, which is your life, which is your existence, which is your sustenance, and the beauty and the almost cathartic kind of return to the self that Henry David Thoreau experienced when going out to live into the woods. So here are 4 books that I think will really, really help you stay present, and yeah, hopefully these books really helped you. Let me know some of the books that helped you out in this sort of pursuit, in this sort of way of thinking, because I'm always fascinated into reading more books like these. So yeah, with that said, I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. I'll catch you in the next one.